Good morning. Good morning, everybody here at the Visa Payments Loft, as well as those of you who are joining in online. My name is Pace Bradshaw. I'm Senior Vice President and Head of U.S. Government Engagement here at Visa. October marks Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and today we'll discuss and explore the latest in cybersecurity policy, something near and dear to us here at Visa, as we and our team works every day to protect the payments ecosystem. From financial services to energy to school districts, cyber attacks have become a major threat at both a local and national scale. And effective cybersecurity policy will be critical in shoring up U.S. cyber defenses and protecting the American way of life. It's my pleasure to introduce two prominent figures that will guide today's discussion. First, we've got Representative Andrew Garbarino from New York's 2nd Congressional District, and Jason Oxman, President and CEO of the Information Technology Industry Council. We'll just refer to that as ITI. As one of Congress's leading voices on cybersecurity policy, Congressman Garbarino rightly recognizes that cybersecurity is a priority for U.S. national security efforts. And as chairman of the House Subcommittee on Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Protection, he is committed to promoting cybersecurity guidance and best practices for small businesses and state and local governments. Through his committee's oversight of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, for those that are used to some of these DC acronyms, he works to ensure that the agency is effective in securing federal and critical infrastructure across the country. He's also brought attention to the significant cyber workforce shortages that are faced both by the federal government as well as the private sector, and he has supported a number of partnerships between the public and private sectors to help strengthen the overall U.S. national security posture. Jason Oxman is President and Chief Executive Officer of ITI, a global trade association for the tech sector representing 80 of the world's most innovative tech companies, including Visa. With more than 25 years of experience as a globally recognized leader in tech policy, Jason serves as the leading advocate for tech during a very consequential time for the industry. When it comes to cybersecurity, Jason and the ITI team work to ensure that cybersecurity policies in the U.S. and around the world reflect the interconnected and interoperable global nature of today's digital environment. So with that, it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage for a great discussion between Congressman Garbarino and Jason. Thank you all for being here today.
Which one do you want me over here?
Keep going.
All right.
All right. Congressman, good morning, and thank you. Recording in progress. All right. So I guess
thought this was off the record.
I thought so too. It could still be. All right. So just between you and me.
Out, right?
Well, it's great to see you again. Thanks so much for the opportunity to be here with you, to talk about this pressing issue. I know it's a super busy day for you. You've got a conference coming up in just a short few minutes. So talking about cybersecurity hopefully is more interesting than all the other stuff that's going on around town. So thanks for taking the time to get together today.
Absolutely. No, I'm happy to be here. What's going on around town?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Cybersecurity is going on. That's what
right.
We're talking about today. And so we're here in this incredible venue that Visa has set up to demonstrate some of the really important efforts that Visa makes on behalf of their customers around the world to protect networks and systems and prevent fraud. Really, anybody who hasn't had a chance to take a look around, I really encourage you to do so. The technology is absolutely amazing. We're here to talk about the work you're doing in the House as a leader on cybersecurity. And one of the things that I know you're very focused on is the fact that the federal government is one of the biggest users of technology in the country and can be a model for industry. And you speak a lot about the importance of public-private partnerships in cybersecurity. So I wanted to ask you kind of for your opening thoughts on how the public sector and industry can work together to advance these important cybersecurity goals.
Well, I mean, they have to work together. The private sector is the one who's coming up with all the technology, that's coming up with all the ways to defend against these cyber security attacks, whatever industry it is, because they have to. I mean, the private sector owns over 80% of critical infrastructure. So private sector has to be involved. Public sector, CISA specifically is the CISA Sector Risk Management Agency for 8 of the critical infrastructure sectors. You have other agencies that work with the other 8. So they're involved, but you really need that partnership between the two because at the end of the day, if there's a major cyber attack, whatever happens, it's not going to be government getting everything back up and running. It's going to be the private sector.
It's not me.
And their employees, like Visa. You know, if there's a hit on the financial services sector, Visa has the people to do it. The government does not, but the government has to be part of it, you know, because it's critical infrastructure. We need to keep the economy going.
It is amazing. I'll talk about Visa just for one more second. Visa has a network operations center close by here that is an absolutely incredible place to visit because it highlights the importance of the work that the private sector does in partnership with government. There are government agencies that work very directly with Visa to protect the critical financial services networks. So I want to ask you more about that.
I haven't been. I promised to go. I promised to go. I know we're going to do it. We're going to try to bring the whole committee.
It's absolutely worth it. Now they do put you in the trunk of the car and put a bag over your head, so you can't.
In New York.
Because you're not supposed to know where it is. Yeah. But the facility is absolutely amazing. It gave me an incredible understanding of how important this stuff is. So I wanted to ask you. You mentioned CISA, and I know you're a fan of the work that the Homeland Security Department does to protect the American people. So I wanted to ask you a little bit more because I know there's some stuff you can't talk about, but in your work on Homeland Security. On the committee, I know you hear a lot about the foreign threats that we face, and particularly the threats to our critical infrastructure, whether it's financial services, utilities, and attacks are a daily thing, an hourly thing. And I wanted to get your thoughts on how CISA is doing, what we can do to support the CISA mission, how you think they're resourced, and what the particular foreign threats that we face are that you're worried about.
Well, I mean, the Homeland Security, Department of Homeland Security just came out with their 2024 threat assessment, Homeland Threat Assessment, and they said about cyber attacks, there is just growing threats from both foreign nation states as well as non-nation actors, non-state actors. So the threats just continue to grow. We have given CISA a lot of authority and a lot of money over Congress has over the past couple of years. We're going to continue to do that this year in the Homeland Appropriations bill. I believe we actually raised how much money they're in. We didn't give as much as the White House had asked for, but we raised the amount we're giving them, even though some of my colleagues wanted to cut it by 25%, but luckily that was defeated. But I am a big supporter of what CISA's mission is. I think it's a critical mission. I think a lot of people don't understand the mission and how successful that CISA's been, especially with creating those private partnerships. I talk to so many different industries across every critical infrastructure, industry actors across every critical infrastructure sector, and they all love working with CISA. They'd rather work with CISA than any other agency. And that's a great thing. Director Easterly, she's great. I have a great working relationship with her and the team at CISA. I'm a supporter. There is oversight we have to do. We have given them a lot of authority, so we just got to make sure that they act on it, and they're acting timely. Most specific right now is the incident reporting bills. Somebody talked about the acronyms. One of the worst ones is CERCIA. It's Cyber Incident Reporting something. I don't know, but it was. It's about the incident reporting. The bill that we passed last year was a great piece of legislation, and it deals with what happens if there's a cyber attack. They're in the rulemaking process now, so we want to make sure that all, that's all done timely, because in a timely manner, because as they're working on things, other agencies are coming with their own cyber rules. It's creating a whole big mess, and I honestly think CISA should be the center for cyber in the administration.
Makes sense. CERCIA was my favorite character in Game of Thrones, by the way. We've talked about the industry partnerships that you think are so important to success here. And obviously, large companies have a lot of resources to devote to cyber defenses, but small businesses don't necessarily have those resources, but they're subject to attacks just as often, if not more often. I wanted to ask you for your thoughts on other entities in the ecosystem, small businesses, local governments, for example. What do you need to see them doing in partnership with the federal government to make these efforts successful?
Well, it's really our role, I think, is the government to help these guys, because they don't they don't have the CISOs that, Chase or Visa or, some of the energy companies can afford to have, or can have. A lot of these small governments, a lot of these small governments, they rely on their IT department, which that's not the best place sometimes to rely on when you're talking about cybersecurity. You need someone who's actually trained. Small businesses, they buy a cyber program. They think, okay, I've got it. I'm done. That's all I need to do. No, that's good that day, but the next day it's already out of date, and they don't have the money to spend on this. So it's really, I think where we can step in is to help fund these, fund the small, help give grants to these counties, towns, municipalities to help them make sure that they have the protection they need, and they need it. Where I live on Long Island, Suffolk County got hit by a cyber attack. It pretty much took out the county for almost close to a year. I don't think they were fully up and running again for a year. Our election results were delayed. Small businesses, you have to make sure they're protected. You have to make sure they are, somebody's watching over and somebody's helping them. And CISA does a great job. They have regional offices that will help and go speak to. They'll do programs with these small business owners and say, okay, this is how, this is where you need to create a new password. This is where you don't click on this email, this phishing email. Like they have regional offices that have done it. I've used the New York regional office to meet with chambers of commerce and talk about the programs that they do. But we really need to focus on cyber hygiene and really training these people on what not to do. That because they're the biggest defense. Changing your password, multi-factor authentication. Don't clicking on those. I mean, that's most of the problem most of the time. So
yeah,
it's
humans.
Education. Yeah, human error. My dad still, oh God, he clicks on so many emails. I say, you can't click on that email. It's awful.
Education, that's the key.
Yeah.
Back on the subject of CERCIA, one of the implementing areas that's been most active is in disclosure requirements.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you in particular about the SEC and their cyber incident disclosure requirements. And we're going to see these kind of disclosure requirements continue to spread. And there's an argument to be made that disclosure is important. You want to make sure that your customers know if they need to take some action. But I know there's been a lot of controversy about how the SEC has talked about implementation. What do you think is next there for the SEC implementation of the CERCIA disclosure requirements and kind of this growing number of cyber reporting regulations that we're going to see coming out?
Yeah, I mean, SEC, they just came out with a proposed rule on one of their incident reporting rules. I think they have 5 others in the pipeline. 2 of them actually contradict each other from the last I saw. So it makes no sense. This is, and I've had this conversation. I actually questioned Chairman Gensler about it at the last hearing. And one thing Congress has said, and one thing is harmonization. We need to harmonize the cyber regulations out there. You can't have agencies. We can't have agencies doing different things because then you have companies with their cyber workforce spending 40 to 50% of their time on compliance with regulations instead of actually cyber defense. And that's a number I've heard from a CISO at a major bank. And a CEO at another bank, major bank, told me it's probably closer. After these other rules come out, it'll be over 50%. And I'd asked Gensler, Chairman Gensler, about, we have this CERCIA rule. Have you spoken to CISA? You're supposed to, why the different dates? Why the different requirements? And he really didn't have an answer other than, well, this is good for, investor knowledge is good. Oh, yeah, I agree. Investor knowledge is good, but I'm not sure it's the best thing to, his rule would do, to post an ongoing cyber attack that hasn't been fixed yet. I mean, that could open up a lot of other companies to the same cyber attack. It's just it's a rule that I strongly disagree with. I know a lot of my colleagues strongly disagree with, and unless we can get them to change it, we might see some legislative action on that rule specifically. Well, we're still talking with the committee about it, but that's what I would like to see.
Well, we appreciate your attention to that. It is there's, as I said, there's that balance.
I'm not saying we shouldn't do it.
Yep.
But harmonize it. That just makes sense.
That makes sense when you're thinking about the burden on businesses for reporting, but also making sure that they're paying attention to the right thing and doing the right thing. Speaking of strategies, the Biden administration in July released the implementation plan for the National Cybersecurity Strategy, and we were actually very pleased at ITI to have hosted Acting National Cyber Director Kemba Walden in our office to announce the implementation plan in July. It's a very comprehensive plan. The implementation plan follows the release of the actual plan, so we've got plan and implementation. Wanted to ask your thoughts on kind of the strategy more broadly, what you like about it, what maybe you'd like to see more or less of in it, and not to go into check item by check item on the implementation plan, but your thoughts on the pillars they've established and the roadmap they've established for implementation of the National Cyber Strategy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and by the way, Kemba she's wonderful. I'm sorry to see her, leaving. She would have been a wonderful full-time director over there. But I'm going to save total judgment until I have a hearing next week where I've got someone from CISA and someone from ONCD coming in to talk about some parts of this plan and what they're going to be doing. But from what I saw, it wasn't bad. I like that they've set timelines for agencies. To accomplish the certain pillars by, which are good. I like the focus on workforce. That is a huge issue. I mean, I think they just updated the numbers this week that there's still over 500,000 open cybersecurity jobs in the United States, both private and public. So focus on workforce is huge. Granted, that's down from over 700,000 a year ago, but it's still over 500,000, which is probably our biggest national security threat. I think now is workforce. So the administration's plan there has a really good focus on workforce, but it's I think I liked the plan. I want to see them stick with the plan, and the reason why I say I want to see them stick with the plan is we have given the administration several things to supply to Congress. Several reports that in the past that we've asked them to do that have either, if they've sent them to us, they're sometimes 8 months to over a year late. And one specific one, I talked about it this morning, we asked them to do a continuation of the economy plan. If there was a major cyber attack, we should come up with what's the plan? Specifically told them to do a plan. They waited a year to even give it to CISA to do, and then pretty much handcuffed CISA. So the plan we got back wasn't a plan at all. It was a letter pretty much saying, don't worry, we got it. That didn't make me feel warm and fuzzy. So, the plan that we're talking about now, the other one is, I like, it looks good. I didn't have any real critiques, but see if they stick to it. And I am looking forward to hearing what, I think Eric Goldstein's coming from CISA next week, and who's coming from ONCD? To Russia. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm sure they're looking forward to hearing your questions.
Yeah. Oh, look, and we work great with them, so I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say. Very bipartisan committee. This committee, it's a very bipartisan issue.
Yep. Well, protecting the homeland is a bipartisan concern, so that's good to hear. And speaking of the committee, I want to circle back to that workforce issue you raised, because when you were named chair of the Cybersecurity Subcommittee of House Homeland Security, you noted that workforce issues were going to be a big priority of the committee. You've spent a lot of time of the subcommittee's time, working on this issue. You highlighted the numbers. Yeah, we're down from 700,000 to 500,000, but it's still 500,000 open cybersecurity positions. Can you share with us, both in terms of the subcommittee's work heading into next year, and also the priorities you think Congress should focus on, what opportunities we have to address that workforce shortage, which, as you noted, is the biggest critical challenge to our being up to the task for cybersecurity protection?
Yeah, we have spent a lot of time on it because like I said, I think it's the number one cyber threat is not having the workforce to defend. So we had a subcommittee hearing on it, specifically on workforce back in June. We had a lot of private sector people come in and talk about what they're doing to address their private sector needs, the different internships and programs and classes and trainings that they're doing to try to grow. But that's great, and everybody's coming up with different ideas, because it really has to be with such a large number. It's got to be an all of the above approach to fix it. We've had discussions. I've had discussions with some senators who have ideas. Senator Gillibrand specifically has a cyber academy piece of legislation that she likes. There was something we did in the NDAA last year, which set up a little cyber program for the DoD for defense. We'd like to probably see if we could expand that to DHS, see if that could work to help get for the government actors, for the government employees. Problem is most of these jobs are in the private sector, and for to get people into the cyber, training, and a lot of these jobs you don't need 4-year degrees, you don't need 2 years degrees. There's just a couple of certifications that you can get, and you're in it. You can build your knowledge up. We need to get cyber into the curriculum at schools, and we have the K through 12. There was a bill that we tried to get the cyber curriculum in where you start using cyber language in kindergarten, like instead of doing math problems, how many apples, it's how many cell phones, something, or how many microchips. But then move it up and really get to these young kids in the middle schools and the high schools, and let them know you don't have to know how to write code for a lot of these jobs. You don't write code, if that's right. I don't even know that's right. But you don't have to go to a 4-year degree. You can take some of these certification classes right away and go get a $60,000, $75,000 a year job, and then keep getting certifications, and then keep making more money, and someday possibly be a CISO of a major corporation. But that's how we have to help the private sector. I mean, it's very difficult to fill those jobs, and yes, it's gone down, but cyber's not going away. This is always going to be a part, and it touches every industry. It touches every industry. There's something that's cyber related.
Yep. And those job openings in the private sector certainly are numerous, but there are a lot of job openings in the government as well. CISA has hundreds of open slots, or across Homeland Security, hundreds of open slots on cyber issues. So it's definitely an opportunity for the next generation, that's for sure.
Director Easley has been doing a good job at closing those, and we had a bill that moved through committee to try to transition some Homeland employees into CISA to help out with that. But yeah, Director Easley, she knows it's a huge issue, and she's attacking it head on.
She is attacking everything head on.
Yeah, she is. I don't know how she does it.
She's impressive. We only have about 5 minutes left, and I have to bring up AI because it's all anybody wants to talk about in the tech industry, and I know there are a variety of different reactions to it out in the real world. I'd be curious if you hear from constituents back home in New York about AI being a threat to their jobs. But I want to talk about AI and ask you for your thoughts on two different areas. One is AI generally. If you're optimistic about the future of the technology, it's certainly on display here in Visa's demonstrations of how they use AI to prevent fraud. Yep. There's a great interactive tool here that you can try to beat Visa's AI and making determinations about whether a transaction is fraudulent or not. I'm proud to report I got all three wrong and cost Visa approximately $5,000 in approving fraudulent transactions. But hopefully it's not connected to the actual Visa network, so that'll be all right. So let's talk about AI overall and what you think. A lot of discussion in Congress, a lot of education happening now, what you think about it. And then I want to talk about AI in the workforce context a second. But what about AI overall? What's your position? What do you think Congress should be looking at?
Well, I mean, education. I mean, a lot of members don't understand it. I barely understand it. I get it from what it's being used for in the cyber security world. I've had so many companies tell me about how they face millions of attacks a day because some bad actors using AI to try to find a break-in. So now they're using AI as a defense. You talked about what Visa's doing. I spoke to another insurance company that you said back when they used to only have civilian employees doing it. If they were hit with a cyber attack, they would have to shut down an entire sector to be able and for the civilians to be able to find it. Now, they can using AI as part of their defense, they can run through so many more scenarios to find, so that they don't have to shut down an entire sector. They can just shut down much smaller part. So that's helping them in the defense as well. So when you have people using it for bad, you got to try to use it for good. But constituent-wise, yeah, there's a big concern as to what can you trust it? Everybody's worried about Terminator. We all saw that one, but no. I don't think that's as much as a concern. But
it's only a concern if your name is Sarah Connor.
Exactly. But if it's going to take their jobs, no, we've actually seen how AI is actually helping train people to do further in their job. It's we have our future work caucus that I chair with not senator yet, Lisa Bunt Rochester, but we
soon to be senator.
Soon to be senator. We did a meeting and we talked about AI and how businesses and colleges and trade unions are using AI to help train employees so they can transition to the newer jobs. And we have a bill that we're trying to get passed to have the Department of Labor do a study as to how AI can be used to help expand the workforce.
That's great. That Future Works Caucus is incredibly important. I'm glad to hear that you're thinking about AI as a positive opportunity for the American worker. That's a good message to deliver, because technology is disruptive, and it causes people to be concerned about their future jobs. And I think it's clear that AI is going to create a lot of jobs, and you've been talking about that a lot today.
You're still going to need that human interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just about out of time, but I want to ask you one closing question. Maybe your practice tips and advice, and any requests you have for the cybersecurity community, what you need to see from industry on the committee, what you're looking for, what you need from us, how we can be most helpful to all of these incredibly important issues you've been talking about today.
Well, I need to know what we should be focusing on. I have a great team there in the back, but Chairman Green has given me a lot of control over what I want to do in that committee. He says it's my committee, but we came out with a plan at the beginning of the year with what hearings we wanted to do, and it's changed probably 4 times since then because of what's happening in the world. So when over 80% of the critical infrastructure is owned by the private sector, they're seeing this stuff firsthand. I need to know what we need to focus on. I need to know, what Congress, if there's legislation that needs to be fixed or passed, I need you guys to tell me. And we love meeting with industry because they are the front line. They're doing most of the work. So just don't be shy. That's what I need. Excellent. Well, we're very grateful to have someone as thoughtful and dedicated and serious about these issues in charge of the cybersecurity subcommittee of Homeland Security. And really enjoyed our conversation today. I know you have to run back up to the Hill, but really appreciate your thoughts and sharing the advice and your leadership on all these incredibly important issues. Please join me in thanking Congressman Andrew Garbarino. Thank you. Good luck. Thank you. Great. Where's the fireplace? I know, it's a fireside chat, no fireplace. This is great. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is great. Thank you.